Welcome to the Leaders in Housing Counseling call for November 8th. Glad you were all here on the call. And we are eager to get through the agenda because we have a lot of ground to cover and some pretty important and valuable topics. So let's start with just a quick coverage of what the agenda is. So we're going to talk about the HUD Housing Counseling 50th birthday celebration, and we'll have HUD here to talk to us about it a little bit. There's been lots of important work around language access and FHA's Mortgage Translation Clearinghouse. So we're going to have a number of voices that have been deeply involved in this to speak with us about that and its significance for housing counseling. And we're going to have, I think, a fascinating talk with Laura Royer and Ellie Pepper on Facebook and its use in reaching underserved markets in housing counseling. And of course, we'll make a quick plug for joining NHRC in the on the backside. So let's get started with HUD, and Terry Carr from HUD is joining us. Thank you very much. Terry, are you with us?
I am.
Great. Tell us the good news.
All right. The good news is the housing counseling program turned 50 in August. And so we want to acknowledge that by doing a couple things, one of which, the first thing we want to do is build a happy birthday card. And I think Bruce may have sent out to you all a link to a web page where we are asking people just to upload a video that they record on their iPhone saying happy birthday to the housing counseling program. And we're going to splice the entries we get together and then use that video on social media. And we see this video as kind of the first step in a soft launch of some activities that we hope to use to celebrate housing counseling throughout this 50th year. So we'll be celebrating through August. A couple of other things we're thinking about doing is we want to find a way to tell the story of housing counseling. Why did the program get started? What have we accomplished over the last 50 years? And so we hope to tell our story and to work with you and other stakeholders in gathering information for that story early next year. And we're also thinking about considering doing a kind of panel discussion that takes a look at some of the policy options for making sure housing counseling is sustainable. So that's what we're doing. I hope you guys are excited about it. I think you know over the last couple of years we've launched an effort to try to elevate the visibility of housing counseling and make sure people understand just how important and useful the services are. And so we're going to be using the 50th anniversary and, of course, Homeownership Month and any other activity we can identify over the next year to also improve those visibility and awareness efforts. So that's it.
Well, it's perfect, and what a great opportunity to get us in front of the public eye in a way that is different than our traditional ways, and that creates, I think, a good opportunity. So we're very interested in any way we can help to make this happen. I think step one is HUD is asking each of you out there to make a very short happy birthday video talking about a minute or so, and you should certainly use it also to brand yourselves and make sure that people know who you are, but it's and maybe what you're doing. But you don't have a minute, so you got to make it kind of big and fast. So that and there's a link to an example on the materials we set out this morning. So it should be fun. Should be fun and interesting. And I think we would like to think about if there are things we could do around the country that maybe happen simultaneously or in some coordinated fashion that kind of mirror the outreach efforts so that we can get broader publicity and get traditional media outlets, newspaper and radio and television, as well as some social media stuff as earned media. That would be a good way to amplify all this. So good. Well, so Terry, you're going to keep us informed, right? You're going to keep us on top of all this.
I'm definitely going to keep you informed, and we definitely welcome all efforts to help us amplify the message and raise and increase visibility and awareness. So we will stay in close touch about those things.
Thank you so much. Great. Okay. Well, and what's the deadline on getting the video in? The selfie?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So work fast, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
fast and short. That's what we're working on.
Exactly.
Tuesday. Okay. Okay. Good. Well, we'll be eager to see what people come up with. It'll be a lot of fun. Nice. Okay, so quick pivot. We're going to go to FHFA's Mortgage Translation Clearinghouse. Many of you have been participated in the push we did to get language preference on the mortgage application, and FHA and the Americans for Financial Reform and a whole variety of housing and consumer groups have been working with the financial services industry on taking the next steps in this process to really make language access work much more effectively and really create some tools that will make it more standardized and more acceptable in the mortgage process. So the Broad Coalition, we have a few voices from on our call today, and we're going to start out with FHFA. We have David Sanchez and Danielle Walton from FHFA who've been leading this work, and we're going to try to flip the control over to them so they have their own slideshow. So this is hopefully this goes smoothly. We're relatively trying to figure this out. But David and Danielle, are you on?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, good. Dive in.
Excellent.
Great. We can see your screen, David.
All right. Phenomenal. So thank you, everyone, for for allowing us the opportunity to present today. This is David Sanchez and Danielle Walton here from FHFA. So we want to speak to you about language access issues, specifically the FHFA's Mortgage Translations Clearinghouse, which was just launched last month on the FHFA website. So we began examining language issues closely as an agency in mid-2016, and in many respects, this was in response to what we were hearing from your community and from leaders in your community about the challenges that borrowers with limited English proficiency face, and not only getting a mortgage, but understanding the terms of their mortgage, and then being able to communicate with service providers over the life of the loan. The other question it came up specifically in the context of whether the Uniform Residential Loan application should include a question on a borrower's preferred language, which we undertook a kind of lengthy process to get our answer to, but ultimately did get to yes on that question. FHFA conducted a lot of outreach, a lot of research, direct testing with LET consumers, and we took the lessons of that and we boiled it down into a multi-year language access plan for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which was released earlier this year. And one of the things that is a central component of the plan, and that we learned from our research would probably be helpful, would be a centralized collection of translated mortgage documents and other resources that could help LEP borrowers. So I'm here today to show you and help you to and give you a demonstration of what we hope is going to be a really, really useful tool. And let me just make sure that I'm presenting this correctly. Danielle, does this show up on your screen?
Nope, just minimize that.
Okay.
So what you'll see on the screen here, hi, this is Danielle. David has pulled up the FHFA.gov homepage. And on the homepage, you'll see we wanted to make sure that the mortgage translation site had a prominent place on the page. So we've added a tab right to the top navigation. You can hover over that and it'll show you the new logo that we've created for mortgage translations, which shows the 5 languages that eventually we would like to have the documents translated into. For this first stage that just launched, we do have documents in Spanish, but we do have all the other languages that will be rolling out over the next couple of years. So David, if you want to just click on the mortgage translations, it'll take us to the mortgage translations page, where you'll have a little bit of information on the site, background on what you'll find there, and then you'll see in that second paragraph reiterating that currently we have documents in Spanish language, but other resources will come in the future. Also, when you scroll down, you'll see a quick view of the frequently used mortgage documents. But then you can also do a search right on the page. And David, if you want to show that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so the purpose of the website is to contain a collection of, translated documents. That means, legal documents, as well as borrower education materials. And we collaborated with the BCFP on their creation and expansion of their Spanish-English glossary. So I would kind of characterize the website as containing those three things most broadly. And we, as you see, we highlight those all on this home page, as well as putting them on separate pages. So here you can do kind of a basic search of the documents. And I'll show, we'll just search for New York, just as an example. Here we have the English and Spanish versions of the New York note, the security instrument, and as well as a New York specific document, the CEMA, the Consolidation, Extension, and Modification Agreement. And as you can see, if you wanted to access one of those documents, say you wanted to view the CEMA document in Spanish, you would click on it and it would take you to a landing page. Contains the document in both Word and PDF, a link to instructions for the form, as well as kind of what we think of as like the basic information that people would want to access quickly about a given form. So that's just a preview of how that works. The website itself contains about 500 translated documents presently. About half of those are in English and half of those are in Spanish. The plan for 2019 is to roll out a full suite of translated documents, as well as a translated glossary in Chinese and Vietnamese, and then in 2020 to duplicate that with Korean and Tagalog. The other thing that we'll be doing is translating the website end to end and kind of working to try to design the website so that it's more consumer friendly. Right now, we think the website is a great tool for people who are in this industry, for people who have, some familiarity with the mortgage process, people like housing counselors, if they wanted to, work on the website with with LEP consumers, or simply gather resources in order to provide those to the consumers that you all work with. But we know we have a little bit of a way to go in order to make the website truly, as useful as it could be to LEP consumers directly. So pausing there, I just want to show, the main constituent pages of the website. There's the home page, which has kind of a basic glossary and a basic document search. We also have the ability to search or browse, like the full collection of mortgage documents. Under advanced search, you can search by, document name, description, keywords, form number, et cetera, et cetera. We also programmed in some functionality to make the website navigatable by, certain scenarios. If you're looking for documents about a specific purpose, perhaps you're having difficulty making mortgage payments. You can search by language, by stage of the mortgage process, which at this point is just getting a mortgage and mortgage servicing. Document type, which is origination, or servicing, or specifically on more legal documents, notes, security instruments, riders, addenda, et cetera. And then the other, primary way to search is by document source. So the preponderance of documents on the clearinghouse come from, our regulated entities, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. But we also worked with the BCFP, with HUD, USDA, and a number of state agencies to gather their Spanish translated materials onto the clearinghouse. And of course, the hope is that it will continue to grow, as government agencies, as we incorporate other languages, as government agencies make more resources available, even if we eventually one day establish a process to vet materials that come from non-governmental resources. That's the whole idea behind the clearinghouse. So we thought that I just wanted to highlight that feature for you guys so that you understood, kind of the breadth of it. In the interest of not taking up too much time, I'll move quickly to the glossary. So this is a searchable, basically electronic version of the BCFP's expanded English-Spanish glossary of financial terms. And you know, the BCFP did a really, really great job in growing this glossary. It moved from about 300 terms, translated terms, that we saw in the 2015 release to just under 2,000. So we think that it's a really, really exciting tool. It's certainly going to be the basis of, as Fannie and Freddie translate their documents going forward, they're going to be using this glossary, and the hope is that it can become somewhat of, you know, governmental or industry standard for how to translate. And as I noted, it'll be translated into Chinese and Vietnamese next year, and Korean and Tagalog in the following year. So I just wanted to give you a quick demonstration. You know, if you search for deed here, it contains 12 terms that contain the term deed, and you could also search for the Spanish version of that and get the same or very similar results. So it's searchable both ways. It is not a glossary that contains definitions at this point. It's more of a English to Spanish back and forth. So we're really excited about that. We're really excited we were able to collaborate with the Bureau to expand their universe of terms, and it's been a really, really productive partnership. The other two pages, there are a number of other pages here on the website. Here is, you know, a collection of borrower education materials, primarily coming from BCFP and from Freddie Mac. It includes instructions on how to find a housing counselor using the HUD and CFPB tools, and then it takes the borrower education materials that are contained on the clearinghouse and organizes them into 4 categories: shopping for a home, shopping for a mortgage or refinance, avoiding foreclosure, and avoiding scams. And the documents are available in both English and Spanish, and if you click one of these, it takes you to the landing page that I showed you earlier.
I would just like to point out one other thing. If you're on the search or browse documents page and you want to search by language, you will see that all the 5 languages show up right now, and we do have the disclosures in each of the languages, but just as a reminder, the majority of the documents are just translated in Spanish for now.
So that brings us quickly to because this process was born in many ways out of the question about whether a preferred language question should be added to the IRLA, and we're happy to announce that the agency has gotten to a yes, and that the industry is moving to implement that decision in 2019 and 2020. One of the things that we included is a translated disclosure that makes clear to borrowers, kind of the limits of translated documents, as well as the utility of translated documents. Explains to them that, most of the legal documents that they sign will be in English, and much of their transaction will be, and then it refers them to the, in-language housing counseling services. Just the last 2 pages. One is just a page about Learn More. It's got our cute little promotional video. It's got a link to FHFA's language access webpage, as well as the multi-year plan. And then it has an ability to subscribe to the website for updates, as well as to contact us to provide feedback. So we are very excited and hopeful that the website will be useful to you. We want to hear more about how to make it even more useful, and so we hope that you will contact us with that information. Moving into 2019, we're going to continue working with our external stakeholders. The people you're about to hear from AFR and CAF and et cetera, and UNIDOS have been great partners in our external partnerships. We're going to continue to work with them, and we're also going to move the website. We recently learned that FHFA has been approved to create mortgagetranslations.gov. So as we move to a more consumer-centric website and move to more languages, that's where this tool will be moving. Right now it is at fhfa.gov/mortgagetranslations. So I think I'll stop there, and I just want to say thank you very much. And we really look forward to working with you guys to improve the ability of LEP consumers to understand their mortgage transaction.
Just great. Thank you, David and Danielle. I mean, this is important work, and so I think we've all had a big stake in it, and thank you for pushing it forward. So Walkiria, Walkiria Poole, who's from CAF and deeply experienced in the housing counseling field. So Walkiria, as a practitioner, what are your impressions? What do you think the value is for us as a community?
Definitely. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you so much for having me. Just looking at the website when we got a chance to go about a month or 2 months ago, we were able to see how useful it's going to be for the consumer, meaning for this time, at this point for the housing counselor, and also for the partners that we work with, especially realtors and lenders that sometimes come to do our financial literacy or first-time home buyer seminars. And of course, there's a lot of things that we would love to see improving in the website. But for now, one of the things that I feel is going to help for the Spanish-speaking, consumers, meaning ourselves and counselors, is the fact that we're going to be able to work with the Spanglish situation. A lot of time we don't know the right terminology for a lot of the terms that are used. So it gives us a quick finding, where to go and how to use the right terminologies and glossary that needs to be used in the field. We also find the fact that some of the forms, just to have a quick access to the forms that we need to have access to for the first time home buyer seminars or for the one-on-one when we dealing with the clients. This is something that make it really easier for us instead of having to search all over the place. This is a one-stop shop that we can go as a housing counselor and find out the forms that are needed. Or as I said, just the fact that sometimes we need to get familiarized with the right, translation of different words that we use in a day-to-day. That sometimes we make, because we are so used to the English terminology, we just realize that we keep saying it in English and we just become an Spanglish situation most of the time when conversing with the clients or whenever we are doing the first time home buying seminar. So this is something that definitely is going to help the industry, and when it's ready for the consumer directly, it will be even more helpful. We see the fact that eventually the context of the website will be translated. That will be useful. Right now, you need to have a counselor or somebody that already understand English in order to find out what they need. Otherwise, it might become a little, it might become a little complicated because of all the context is not yet translated. But for the time being, I think it's very useful, and I encourage, because we did that as an organization. All of the counselors, we went through the website and we kind of saw how useful it could be for the day-to-day work that we do for the Spanish-speaking clients that we serve.
This is great, and I think it solves a big problem, which is this of how you setting a standard vocabulary that can be used throughout the industry, and even if it's not what people are used to right now, they're going to become used to it because it is the standard, and that helps solve all kinds of problems and getting the financial.
And also, Bruce, one thing we are encouraging our partners, realtors specifically, to go and see it and get familiarized as well as lenders that are bilingual sometimes, and they all struggling with the terminology in Spanish. So this is, as I say, this is a great tool, a great one-stop shop where people can go find out exactly what you need and really start providing to our clients what they deserve, which is speaking the right way with the right terminologies. Perfect.
Thank you. So, Agatha, Unidos US has had a leadership role in this issue for a long time, and let's love to hear what your perspective is and the impact on the field.
Great. Thanks, Bruce. Good afternoon, everyone. Good day. So my name is Agatha, so I'm with Unidos US, and as Bruce said, Unidos US has been working with NHRC, various HUD intermediaries, and civil rights and consumer groups to really push for many needed and long-awaited changes, and improvements in the system to increase language access in this mortgage market. I think, as many of you know, the mortgage process can be very confusing, very complicated in English, and so for those of you who are serving clients from diverse and multicultural communities, any new information or having information in your client's language can really help tremendously, help them understand the process and move through the process more smoothly. So just a little bit about why, we think this is really important. And I think Bruce and Walkiria have really hit the nail on the head in terms of understanding why this is not only important for the industry, so for lenders and services to understand, but also why it's important for the housing counseling community. So Unidos US is a housing counseling intermediary. We work with a network of over 50 housing counseling agencies who predominantly are serving Latinos, people of color, low-income families, and as a best practice, we think that it's important to have people serving clients who represent the community, who speak the language of the community. In fact, just thinking about, for us, this is a very obvious change. Having information in a client's language just makes it so much easier and is a best practice. It's a way to build trust with clients and help them understand. Thinking about the nation, about 22% of the U.S. population speaks a language other than English. That's about 65 million people. 45% of foreign-born, U.S. households, speak English less than very well. For us at Unidos, we think this issue is important because 60% of the LEP community, so 60% of households that speak English less than very well or limited English proficient are Spanish speakers, identify as Latino. So this is definitely an important issue. I wanted to just add a few places that I think parts of the website I think would be helpful for housing counselors. One, just the document searchable by language, but also by type. So if you are a housing counselor who's helping people, prevent foreclosure, there's certainly documents that are available there, and you can actually download these documents in advance and use them for not only one-on-one appointments, but potentially when you are working with and orienting folks through homebuyer education, like group education. This is a great way to, I think, to help your communities understand that these resources are available and that, at least right now in Spanish, they're available. And so they can start feeling more comfortable knowing that there is, that they would not, when they do enter this process and meet with you, that there will be someone there who can help, who will be able to provide a form or documentation that has been translated. Another word about the language translation disclosure, which is also part of the website. As Bruce said, and FHFA had mentioned the new version of the mortgage application. It's going to be required that lenders and servicers lenders use this beginning in 2020. And on this FHFA's new webpage, the mortgage translations page, you can actually download a copy of the disclosures, and these disclosures are actually translated into the languages into Spanish and the other languages that FHFA will be translating the website and future documents in. And the reason why I point this out is that as you are, again, meeting with clients, perhaps pre-purchase clients, you can actually share this disclosure, and that will help provide some context for clients who might be wondering, well, my conversation, my initial conversation with you is in Spanish. Does that mean the rest of the mortgage process is going to be in Spanish? It helps kind of address some of these expectations that borrowers and clients might have at the pre-purchase stage. So I think that's just, I wanted to set, identify that as a potential resource for you all. It can be, it's a disclosure that you can actually print out. It's available in PDF and in Word form, so you can integrate it into your own materials as you work with clients who are in the home buying process. A second, I wanted to just second what Kyria said about using the glossary. This glossary of terms is not meant to replace your glossaries. We know that many of our partners use glossaries to help borrowers understand certain documents and terms in English, but we also know that there are glossaries that are sometimes and words and terms that housing counselors use to provide to their clients as they go and meet with their lender for the first time. So it helps also educate other stakeholders in the mortgage process. So we think this is a really good step in helping folks understand the mortgage process, not only from first time you apply, but also understanding it throughout the process into servicing and hopefully not in the foreclosure prevention stage, but also in that stage. So thank you so much for having us, and we're looking forward to the next steps.
Excellent. Thanks, Agatha. So we also have Linda June from the Americans for Financial Reform, and AFR has headed up this working group on LAP issues, which has been instrumental in all this. So Linda, I'd love to hear your AFR perspective and where you think this all needs to go.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks for having me on. So AFR is a coalition. We've been working with a lot of the people who are on the panel today, as well as a set of other consumer advocacy and civil rights groups to really push forward language access in the mortgage market more broadly. We're really excited to see how FHFA has put together this resource, and really the fact that it already has the disclosures in the other languages, because I think the first immediate stuff that comes to mind as far as languages is we need more documents and other languages that are spoken across the country. And so it's exciting that there's already plans in place to move forward on that, and FHFA has convened both industry and advocates together on a working group that's continuing our conversations even after this clearinghouse is launched. So that's really exciting, because that means the conversations will continue. I mean, I think what we really want to see is, as many translated documents as possible in all of the most commonly spoken languages in the U.S. As all of you know, as housing counselors, there's so many LAP homeowners, and I think homeownership amongst that population is growing and should grow. And these resources are going to really open the doors of homeownership for broader groups of people, which is really great. And I think the other thing that we at AFR and our task force has looked at over the years is just having more of those resources, language resources available, whether that's through oral interpretation or these documents. So a lot of what's been said, and this clearinghouse is a really important step for that, is getting commonly used terms out there, right, in other languages as well. Like, obviously, each country has its own way of describing things in terms of home ownership, and our mortgage experience in the U.S. is unique to this country. But to get services in languages for LAP communities to be such a part of the framework of business that these terms now have like ordinary industry usage across the board, and I think this will really help for Spanish specifically. But I know there's already a ton of resources available for Spanish, and the fact that this is centralized is great. But I think we all know, and the next step we'd really see is the other languages, which even now has less availability. But we're really excited that FHFA has really put in a plan to move forward on their end. And then, as far as we're concerned, I think just more interpretation, more translation across the board is where we'd like to see the market go.
Great. Excellent. So good work on everybody's part. It's an exciting step forward. We're very glad this is moving forward. So thanks so much. And keep us informed as things move along, and especially we'll certainly put out on the listserv when other languages get added and other improvements happen. But big thanks to everybody on this good work, and we're very interested in seeing the new uniform residential loan application with when it's finally out to have language preference as well as the housing counseling data fields on it. So thanks everybody. Let's move quickly on to Facebook, a vital part of our work as we're finding out. And I was at the HomeSmart New York conference in September and got to sit in on part of a workshop that Laura Royer did there on Facebook. She's got kind of a deep understanding. And then she and Ellie Pepper put together a kind of overview, which I think we're going to get to have a good piece of today. And as you know, Ellie's been working with us on doing these events around the country, and Facebook has been the driving, the largest source of effective outreach. We've been really concerned about how to reach underserved markets, and traditional media hasn't been nearly as effective. So understanding and valuing Facebook and maximizing the value has been important to us. So Laura and Ellie, thank you very much. Welcome. And we should transfer over the screen to Laura. So Laura, are you there? And Ellie?
I am.
Good.
I'm just switching over here to pull up the PowerPoint really quick. So you guys should be able to see that on your end. Okay.
There
well,
it is.
thank you.
Nice.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much, Bruce, for having me and Ellie come and present this information to this group. It's so important, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here. Just a little bit about me, just so people know how I kind of got to the table here. I've been in the nonprofit arena for about 20 years. I ran a HUD office for about 15 years. So I've done the housing counseling and all the levels of management. And I understand very thoroughly the crazy grind that we all go through on a daily basis, and trying to balance all the many hats that we all wear and all the different moving parts and pieces that we have to put together in order to be most effective in what we do. And just from my personal experience, as I kind of segue into this, I remember, especially when I was in the trenches doing programming on a daily basis, how hard it was to really stay on top of the social media stuff. And so being out of the grind for the last couple of years and going into consulting, I was able to really learn more about social media and why it's so valuable and so important, and the fact that it's not a trend, it's not going anywhere, and it's only going to be more prominent and impactful in everything that we do. And so that's why this topic is so important. And we are just going to focus on Facebook today, but just to kind of give you a little idea. And if you want a copy of this presentation or this graph, especially because this graph right here breaks down all the different social media platforms, this just really shows you who's using social media, you know, the demographics based on age and race and household income and education. And I also like to point out, if you're just looking at like the Facebook column here, there's this theory that a lot of people in rural areas are really not online or using social media, but it's still pretty significant on Facebook. 58% of the rural population on a national level are on Facebook, and they're using it on a daily basis. So this graph is very insightful, just helping us understand that on average, 75% of our population in the United States are using the social media platform, and they're using it on a routine basis. So just a couple observations, and also I've been guilty of this, so I understand, and that's why we're here today. What's going on right now, generally speaking, what I've observed and working with nonprofits myself is we're on social media now, which is good. Unfortunately, though, there's this inconsistency, and that's what's really hurting us. And it's kind of like that old saying, no credit, bad credit is the same problem. Well, you can have, if you have, no Facebook or inconsistent use is the same problem, because every time that you go inconsistent, you lose momentum and you have to start from scratch all over again. And so that's something that has to be addressed, especially on this particular platform, because it's the number one use with our audience in general. Also, there seems to be a lack of understanding of the purpose of how we can utilize this, not just to let people know that we have a first-time homebuyer program or that we're doing a workshop on financial capability, budgeting, whatever, or our counseling services, but also that this is an opportunity to build a relationship with our consumer, because of the online world, our consumers have the capacity now to research things on their own. And a lot of times they self-diagnose, just like when they go to doctor.gov. I can't think of a health site, but right, when we're not feeling good, we look for our symptoms online instead of going to the doctor. And the same thing is happening even in our field. And so what we need to understand is our consumers are really researching and trying to get information on their own before they take the time to come into an office and sit down with a counselor. And so we need to understand the purpose behind using a platform like this and the role it plays in our programming and marketing, and how to provide that high level of service, because you can educate, you can market, you can do a lot of different things just on using this platform. And when we are using the platform and we're posting things on there, one of the other things that I see is the lack of call to action. So maybe we find a really good article about the current housing market. It's great, but what do we want our customer to do with that information? Is there a call to action? Do we want them to come in and see a counselor? Are we telling them, hey, here's what's going on. The housing market is booming. This is the best time to buy in the year. Please, come in and see. We have a counseling program that can help you become a homeowner if that's your dream. So what's that call to action? And so just having that more consistent approach will really help your customer and consumer understand what you're trying to help them with and why you're there. And then there's also not a lot of engagement. So I do a lot of research and I look into a lot of different nonprofits just to kind of see what they're doing and stay abreast with how other agencies are using it. And one of the things that I'm seeing is people are leaving comments, but then there's nobody going behind there and saying, hey, thank you for stopping by our site. Because with social media, it's great that we have content up there, but this is sometimes, and it's going to be even more so in the future, the place where we're starting to build that relationship to get them to take that next level to work with our agency, and then the type of content and use. So why is really Facebook so important to us as nonprofits in the housing industry? Number one, it brings awareness to your organization. Social media is really replacing our website. I hate to say it, but it's a fact. More people are more likely to go to a Facebook page, business page, to check out an organization than they are to go to your www. So if you don't have information about your organization, if you don't have a lot of content up, that's gonna be their first impression. And so it's going to leave an impression on them of whether or not they want to go further. It's also a great way to build community. So social media is just that. It's social, it's community, it's connection. And that's what really the premise of Facebook is all about. And so it is the ideal place in a lot of ways to really start building community and connection with your customer and help you get to know your customer better. So as you're communicating with them, as you're engaging with them, you're going to get to know their needs on a different level. And as you do new programming and you look for new funding, you're going to have a better insight of what those trends are going to be, so that you're really targeting their needs, and you're using your grant opportunities to really target those needs. It's also a method for us to provide a service or product. Okay, so with Facebook, you can actually teach an entire course right on Facebook. You can create a Facebook group, you can upload units, you can keep that closed, where you could, like, for example, one of the examples I give is a first-time home buyers club. People who aren't mortgage ready, they're not ready to buy a home, they still need a lot of information, they need to work on some stuff. So, creating a Facebook group and using that as a platform to educate that audience and get them mortgage ready, in 6 months to a year, right? So it's another method of how you can provide a service or even a product. It's obviously a great way to market our services and increase the participation in your product or service. So I'm going to show you an example of an agency, a nonprofit agency that's doing this excellent, and they are having enormous results. It's very impressive. So I'm going to show you just how impactful this has been for them. And then it's a great way to fundraise. And just as an example, a great trend that I'm sure if any of you have Facebook, I'm sure all of you have seen this if you're on Facebook, where people are celebrating their birthdays and then they're picking a cause near and dear to their heart. So instead of gifting me a gift for my birthday, I'm asking you to contribute to my favorite nonprofit. So that's just an example of a way to fundraise using Facebook. And it's a very simple way to do that. Another thing that Facebook has on their Facebook business page is they have a call to action button that says donate. So it's another opportunity for our community, our customers, our partnerships, our supporters as a way to donate and give back to the organization. So it's a great way to fundraise as well. So as I mentioned earlier, it's great for brand awareness and customer support because that's where our customers are going. It's a great way to highlight any events that you have coming up and success stories. So when someone's not really sure if your service is what they need or if it's really going to solve their problem, because we're all looking for solutions to a felt problem in general. So they're going to look at your Facebook and seeing a success story of how you've helped a customer make a full transformation. That's really going to sell who you are and what you offer, especially if they don't know who you are, right? So success stories are great for Facebook because they get their virability. People love to share a good story. It'll get you more exposure and it'll get people checking you out on a higher level. I already mentioned donations, so I won't talk about that again. Education, it's a great way to educate. It's a great way to take maybe the 10 ways to buy a home and you create 10 tips. So you're creating some level of value. You're adding there's a transfer of value. You're teaching them something on a virtual level. But if you want the in-depth version, if you want more help, come to our home buyer education workshop. Come to a home buyer counseling session. We can really help you. We can take a look at your personal situation and really help you be strategic and what you need to do to buy your home. So using it as a platform to not only educate, but also to show that you're doing great things in the community, that you're not just doing what you do, but if anytime you're partnering with other organizations, and again, I'm going to show you some examples of how this looks, people like that, especially this younger generation. I know we probably sometimes get tired of hearing about the millennials, but they're buying homes right now. They're the ones that we're helping. They're the ones that have student loan debt. These are our customers, right? And they are very socially aware and socially conscious, and they love donating and social causes. So that's really important to them. So seeing an agency that's doing that will really, really build that relationship with them. What really works well for Facebook is visual content, but video is going to be where it's at by 2020. Video is going to be 75% of what people are looking at and engaging with by the year 2020. So if we're looking at what type of content should we be putting on Facebook, we need to be leaning towards some video content. And as we mentioned, the whole HUD, 50th birthday, we got to get used to being in front of the camera. I know that can be a little nerve-wracking for people, but this is the time we have to start getting ready. We have these awesome smartphones that are sometimes smarter than us. I hate to say it, but it's true. But we've just got to start using video because this is what people are really connecting to. This is what's really getting that message across. Live streaming is obviously really hot. We're seeing more and more people doing that. So utilizing live streaming in your platform, because this is where people are going to get to know, like, and trust you. This is where that relationship starts. They get to see you, they get to see your mannerisms, they get to see how you interact, how you engage, how you articulate yourself. So live streaming is really, really, and they can ask questions. It's live, it's in the moment. So it's really, really a huge feature. And then if you have the budget for ads, which Ellie's going to talk about in a few minutes, it offers the most cost-effective option as far as marketing goes. So I can't wait for her to really show that. So I'm just going to show these examples really quick, just because we don't have too much time. But this is Wayfinders. They do a great job on their social media. So if you really want to get a great example of utilizing Facebook page on from a nonprofit perspective, I would strongly recommend that you search them in the Facebook. Wayfinders from Massachusetts. I love their page. So here's an example of some behind the scenes stuff. It has nothing to do with anything educational. It's just building a relationship where they all dress up for the Halloween. People like that. It feels good. Over here on the right, you see where they've done some fundraising, where they pledge some money, and they're just showing some good, again, some feel good stuff there. Here's an example of some of the content they've shared on lead poisoning for Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. And then they have the weatherizing for on a budget because the winter months are coming. So they're giving that information and that content. And you can see people are sharing this content. So that's really good. This one shows they're participating in some community events, again, some behind the scenes stuff, which is really important. They want to see that behind the scenes stuff on the social channel, especially on Facebook. So you'll see they did like a walk for the Springfield Puerto Rican parade, right? So they're involved in the community, they're supporting the community. It's not just about the nonprofit, okay? And then the next slide here is just showing how they've used some video. So on the left, we're seeing a live stream they did, and this had actually 52 people liked this one, but this reached 1.1 thousand people on Facebook. Like, that is huge. So that just shows you the difference between a picture and a video. A picture may have 20, you're lucky if you get 20 likes, I mean, sometimes really on a page, but when you can reach 1.1 thousand people in a video, that's just a game changer. And then the one on the right is a success story that they did. It was a video success story, and you can see how many people viewed that. Was 560. So again, it's reaching more people, it's getting in front of more people. And then the last example I want to show you, and it'll kind of lead into what Ellie's going to talk to us about, is advertising our events. And I don't know if they boost, I don't know if they spend money on ads. I don't know that. But what I will say is they are posting all of their events using the event feature on Facebook. And if you look on the right side here, you will be able to see how many people are engaging and responding to their events. So like the Homeowner 201 workshop, they had 179 people engage with that one, indicate an interest, or they went to it. So that was getting out there. There's another one here, first time homebuyer class on September 11th, 222 guests. Even the one that's Massachusetts Landlord Workshop, 7 people. That's 7 people that we might not have reached had we not posted that on Facebook. So if you're not utilizing events on Facebook, then you got to start doing that, because even if you reach just one more person, it's free. There's no cost to doing that other than posting the event. So I'll kind of come back to creating the right message here in just a few minutes, but Ellie, I want you to talk about using Facebook to promote your events, and then we'll kind of conclude this.
Okay, great. Thanks, Laura. So I know many of you have heard Bruce and I talk about the events that we've been doing. So I just want to really focus on the aspect of the Facebook ads. So the numbers in front of you are from our Chicago event. And what I'll tell you is we just finished an event in Atlanta, and the numbers, the percentages for how many people came from Facebook were very similar to the event in Chicago. But in Chicago, 600 people registered for the event. Of those 600 who registered, 185 of them attended. We spent $2,251 on the Facebook ad. 337 of the people who registered said they heard about it from Facebook. So, just over half. 82 of those who registered attended and said that they heard it from, said they heard about it from Facebook. What I will say about this is that 600 people registered, 185 came, but it left all of these other people who were then, our registration had contact information, and so it was a gold mine for all the housing counseling agencies that were involved in the event. So not only did they get the word out and get people to actually come to the event, but then they had more information about people who couldn't make it to the event but gave their information, and they could reach out to them. So that was, overall, the least amount of money that we spent. And you can see we did spend quite a bit of money on television and radio, and only 15 people who attended said they heard about it from television and radio. In the event that we just had, it was very similar. It was 61% of the people who registered said they heard about it on Facebook. And I think, can you go to the next slide, Laura?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was also just to show you the money that we spent on the boost that we did in Chicago. So the green line is the number of people who engaged because of the paid aspect of the ad, and the blue is just the organic, people who just engaged you know, without, they just saw it for whatever reason. It showed up in their feed for whatever reason. Somebody invited them, somebody tagged them, whatever. But what I will say is you'll see the bumps in the paid engagements, and those bumps correlate exactly with the days that we actually boosted the events. So that engagement meant they clicked on something, they clicked the link to the registration, they liked something. That's you know what that meant. It meant that somebody just kind of engaged with it. And this is again from Chicago, but again I could tell you, I could show you almost the same exact graph from Atlanta. And the next slide.
And Ellie, can I add something really quick? Because people are like, well, what if I don't have a budget for this, right? I don't have money to pay for an ad. What's really awesome about this is because of the way y'all have partnered, this organic growth is pretty unusual. And so what's really neat about this is the fact that even though you had paid ads, you still had great interaction for the free posting that you were doing, because people are sharing and people are tagging. And so even if you don't have a budget for the ads, using Facebook to market and being strategic with your call to actions, getting people to share and tag their friends and family is huge. And so I just wanted to add that too for those agencies that may not have a budget to spend on an ad like this.
Well, and the other thing to add to that, I'll say, is we have been lucky to have a budget that we can spend. But you don't have to spend a lot of money on these ads. You can spend as little as $10 and get a significant amount of engagement. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing to say, that it can be a very small budget as well. Did you want to say something, Bruce?
I want to say exactly what you said.
Okay.
Yep.
I was going to say $50, but you know, it's the same principle. It goes a long way.
Yes, absolutely. And so then this is just showing the activity in the event. How many people shared it? That's the purple line. How many people commented on it? How many people liked the event? And then, you know, people doing posts in the event. And you can see the day of the event was November 11th. And so the day of the event, there were a lot of posts in there. But, you know, people posted, people tagged other people. And so this just shows how much activity there was in the page. One of the things I want to point out about this is, in this event, the group that hosted the event, there was, you know, 9 groups, I believe it was, and one group kind of did the initial development of the page and then invited the other groups to co-host. The group that did the initial creation of the page increased the likes on their Facebook page by 450 during the time that we ran this event ad. For the recent one in Atlanta, created a specific Metro Atlanta Homeownership Fair page just for me to be able to post in the event and boost. I got 52 likes in a 3-week period. I did nothing to get those likes. I didn't invite anybody. I didn't do anything. It was just the engagement with the page. And is there one more slide?
I think that was it on the graphs.
Okay. So the other thing I want to say is, don't be overwhelmed by creating an event, because I had no experience in creating and boosting an event prior to doing these. I've learned a lot. I certainly haven't learned everything. Laura has given me some great suggestions, but don't be intimidated by it. It really isn't that hard to do, and it really does get a lot of engagement with people if you do it and interact with it.
Right. And I'll just add one last thing. So going back to that whole call to action, right? So if you have that clear call to action, even if it's a free method, that's what's really going to help you get that visibility. And using the event feature. So what's really awesome about that is people can invite all their friends to an event, and so if I'm invited to an event, then I can go to my friends list and I can invite all my friends, and then they can invite all their friends. So the viability of an event just on a no budget opportunity, it's all in how you do your call to action and what you're saying. Hey, if you're interested in this event, or you know somebody who's interested, invite your friends, because this is a free event. In this case, it's a free event. So just those kind of techniques can really go a long way. So I know we're on time, so I just want to give these 8 tips, and maybe Bruce, you can, I don't know if you feel comfortable sending out this PowerPoint, and you know, I think it'd be helpful for people to have these notes, but just to kind of get
we would love to. And just, I'm going to say we're going to go a little bit over the hour, so another 10 minutes or so that people know about it, because we do want to cover this.
Okay.
So keep going.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so because I just think that would be helpful for them. So just some success tips. So, you know, obviously we're crunching like a lot of content in a very short window, but we want to give you some action steps like every good housing professional would do with the client, right? What's the action plan? So, so number one, if you want to build your fans, that they still call them Facebook fans, I call them customers, ask your clients to start liking and following your page. And a technique that I use is I say, hey, pull out your phone right now, search this page and like it. Because if you have them do it right there in the moment, they're going to do it. Otherwise, you're relying on them to remember. So when you have a counselor a client come in for counseling or class or any other service, have them do this. So make this a part of your routine and being intentional with that. Because if they're following you, then they can invite their friends to unfollow you, and they can tag their friends on future posts and services because they participated with services that you provide. And they're your best referral anyway. Number two, assign roles in your organization to support your Facebook page. So it doesn't have to fall on the shoulders of just one person. You know, you could have one person who creates the content. You could have one person who schedules the content. You could have one person engaged. If you have one person in your office, then it is going to fall on the one shoulders. But I would say keep it simple. You don't have to post something every single day. There's this, you know, misconception. But as long as you're consistent, 3 times a week is better than once a month, right? So, you know, assign some roles, but create a plan of action for how you're going to post, when you're going to post. And my best advice for posting, especially for getting started, is to choose a theme. And what I mean by that is a lot of times I find that nonprofits are like, well, I don't even know what to post, what kind of content. So I suggest creating a theme. So let's say you're only going to post 3 days a week. Maybe on Mondays, you're only posting things that maybe it's a blog article, maybe it's a money tip, maybe it's a success story. Those are the 3 types of content that you would post on a Monday. On Wednesday, you might post something on your program. You might post something about what's happening in the industry, something that's pertinent, or you might do what we call the behind the scenes. So that's a behind the scenes. And then on Friday, you might do your fun post because people are ready to get off from work. They're ready for the weekend. So maybe Friday fun, maybe another reminder of some event that's going on that weekend, or something that you're doing that's a feel good. So, you know, kind of outlining what type of post, a couple of different ideas, and that way when you're looking at content, you can just pull content that fit that criteria to make it really simple for you, okay? The next thing is curate as much content as you possibly can to fill in the gaps. And what I mean by that is we all have some great content out there. HUD has great content. Sometimes the media has some great content. So don't try to feel like you have to create everything from scratch. Repurpose what's out there and then spend your time and energy on the things that you do need to create. And that would be taking a photo of an event that you're doing, or taking a video to advertise an event that's coming up. So those are the things where you want to spend most of your time. Keep it engaging because it is social. Social media needs to have more of a casual feel, not such a stiff feel, because people aren't there to be bombarded with education. They're really there to escape a lot of the stuff that's going on out in the world. So they want to be entertained. They want to, laugh and have fun, and also know that there's great things out there for them. Number 6.
So let me just add to that, because Ellie and I talked to the Tide Center. NHRC is a product of the foundation called Tide Center. So we talked to the social media person, and she said, make it chatty. Mm-hmm. So that, and it's just what you see is people are there really to relax and kind of be easyggoing. So on events, we say, come on over and you can meet me, and show a picture of the counselor, or I'm so want to hear from you on this and stuff like that. But really making it personalized and trying to give you a feel that it's really friends hanging out more.
Exactly. Or even polling your audience, like creating polls, have them, give me an answer. A lot, like you see the post that has, how do you feel today, using your emoji, or give me a GIF that expresses how excited you are that it's Friday. I sometimes we think we always have to do academic or teachy kind of stuff, but sometimes it just really needs to be fun and personal and has nothing to do with anything else. And that's why I like Wayfinders, because they've done a good job of mixing their content to create that personal feel along with what they're doing professionally. So that's why I think they do a good job of that. All right, so then you want to schedule your content. So especially when you have a limited staff, my recommendation is that you carve out one day a month. I know that's going to sound like where you're going to find one day a month, but if you could carve out half a day a month to create your content for the month and schedule it out. That way you only have to worry about the in the moment type of stuff. Maybe it's a recent event, you just want to post a picture. The more you like the blog articles and the content, the tools, the tips, the tricks, the hacks, those kinds of things that you already know you're going to post, if you can go ahead and schedule those things out, then you only have to focus on today's engagement or today's what's happening today in the office, if you want to post that kind of stuff. So try to keep it where you're really, streamlining your work and you're minimizing the amount of time. So you're not having to go in there and do it every single day and spend hours. We're not asking for that. And I don't encourage that. But think of your business page, your Facebook business page. It's like another email account. I know we don't like to check email all day long, but you do need to check your business page at least once a day to see if someone did engage so you can respond to them. It's that type of habit that we have to get into so we are engaging our audience. But definitely try to schedule it out. And Facebook has a great scheduling option. You can use a scheduler system if you want to invest in something like that. But Facebook has a scheduler you can use, and it's very simple to upload your content. Number 7, here's a big tip. Repurpose your content. So depending on your programs that you offer, a lot of you probably do first-time homebuyer education, I would probably create, maybe 6 different series of content, and I would just cycle through them. Every other month, cycle through them. I don't need to recreate. So if I'm giving them the 10 steps to buying a home, I'm going to cycle through that content once. I might skip a few weeks and cycle through it again, because the chances of my entire audience seeing it is pretty slim because things move fast on social media channels. So I would repurpose this content as much as I possibly can. And then number 8, evaluate. You can go into your insights. It's called Facebook Insights. So when you log into your Facebook business account, you'll see a little tab that says Insights, and that's where Ellie got all those graphs. It'll show you when people are engaging, what time of day, who are the most likely to engage. It'll give you some really valuable information, which posts were the most popular, because that's the kind of post you want to recreate. You want to continue to add those kinds of things. So you really want to learn about your audience using Facebook Insights, evaluate that, and then make adjustments as needed. So that was it. That was a Speedy Gonzalez round, Bruce. This is fast as
Thank you. Great. Oh, exciting. This sounds good.
I would just add one more thing. I think I kind of touched on it quickly, but I want to reiterate. So in the Chicago market and in the Atlanta market, we used radio pretty significantly. In Atlanta, the groups really felt like radio was going to reach a lot of people, and it did. What I will say is that the percentages of people that came as a result of radio were much lower than the percentages of people who came as a result of Facebook. And Facebook was so much less of a cost per person that came. So it's just a way to think about where to invest your marketing dollars to get the biggest bang for your buck.
Good. Well, this will be an ongoing dialogue. We're learning as we go, but this has been totally an effective use of all this. So thank you, Laura and Ellie, on this. I'm going to speed us through really quickly. Let me quickly let people think about, we are going to do more of the innovation and housing counseling webinars. So I'm very interested in finding the creative big idea thing that you're doing that might be a little bit outside of the box, that might be inspirational. Maybe it's easily replicable. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that would take a lot of effort, but in fact, people should be thinking about doing more ambitious things. So we're putting together the schedule for 2019. So there's some open slots, and if you've got something you'd like to promote that you think would be other groups should know about, this is really an opportunity. So shoot me an email. We're also going to kind of cluster around some work around workforce development and healthcare and other thematic things that the groups that we know are doing out in the field. So in either of those territories, if you've got big ideas, please shoot them my way so we can fill in the program. We can get you some recognition. And this is a list that will go out to foundations and to policymakers too. It won't just be in-house to our work. I do spread these around. I spread the word around about what we're doing and promote the organizations that feature themselves. So, quick reminder to join NHRC. We've gotten a lot of users now of the credit report discount, and that's great. A few of you aren't using it. I'm learning, so you really should join and take advantage of it. But the real reason is to support our work promoting housing counseling and our ability to do work. In the new Congress, we're going to have a big role here that we're already having conversations, and I think there'll be opportunities both in the House and Senate. So we're very, very interested in trying to position housing counseling in these key conversations. One thing that I'm very interested in, and we're beginning to finally get some attention on, is this question about how do we increase the level of homeownership and make it a bigger part of the public policy debate. We talked a month ago about the Elizabeth Warren legislation. We're trying to encourage other initiatives and bipartisan initiatives that would be opportunities that will create more opportunity in homeownership, both in terms of creating more housing stock and more opportunities for people to be able to afford it. So brainstorms along those lines I'm very interested in as well. So for the rest of the month, we would normally have a call on Thanksgiving as the schedule permits, and we're going to skip it. We're going to eat your turkey in peace, and so our next call will be December 6th. So we'll look forward to, and we'll post in the end of November and certainly in early December about what the topics will be there. But keep up the good work. Really appreciate all you're doing, and thanks to the guests. And actually, a special shout out to Melody Emo, who is the person who's been managing the call, and I'm grateful that she came in to do it, and we'll have her more full time starting in December and working on our political work. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.